For centuries, the greatest minds in history, from Socrates to Carl Jung, have echoed the same truth. Know thyself. But what does that really mean? And more importantly, how do you do it? In a world filled with noise, distractions, and false identities, most people go through life playing roles they never chose, chasing goals that were never truly theirs. But what if the answers you're looking for aren't out there, but buried deep within you? This video is not just another self-help talk. It's a practical guide, a path to rediscovering who you really are beneath the masks, the traumas, and the expectations. If you've ever felt lost, disconnected, or like something's missing, this might be the most important video you'll ever watch, because once you find your true self, everything changes. Stay with me, because this journey might just lead you back home. Practice inner dialogue. Discover your true fears and values. Socrates, one of the founding fathers of Western philosophy, didn't write books. He asked questions. Through relentless dialogue, he exposed contradictions in others, not to humiliate them, but to help them see themselves clearly. And here's the truth. You can do the same with yourself. We all carry hidden fears, unspoken desires, and values we've never questioned. Most of the time they guide our actions in silence. But what happens when you sit down and talk to yourself, not in madness, but in awareness? Ask yourself, why do I really want this goal? Whose voice am I hearing when I doubt myself? What am I truly afraid of losing? What does success mean to me, not to the world? This is the beginning of inner clarity. You stop living on autopilot. You begin to separate what's truly yours from what you've been conditioned to believe. And here's the power of this practice. The more honest the questions, the deeper the answers. You don't need a therapist to begin. You need courage and a quiet space. Start writing down your answers. Talk to yourself in the mirror. Sit in silence and observe your thoughts. You are not crazy. You are finally listening. The path to knowing yourself doesn't begin with answers. It begins with better questions. Just like Socrates taught us over 2,000 years ago. Experiment new experiences. Break free from autopilot. Carl Jung once said, "Who looks outside dreams. Who looks inside awakens." But here's the twist. Sometimes you need to step outside your routine to finally look within. Most people live on autopilot. Same roads, same people, same reactions. Over time, that routine doesn't just shape your habits. It builds a cage around who you think you are. But you weren't born for a script. You were born for discovery. That's why new experiences matter. Not just for excitement, but because they act as mirrors. When you travel alone, start a new skill, speak in public, or face discomfort, you're forced to confront yourself in raw, honest ways. Your fears come up. Your confidence is tested. Your beliefs are challenged, and that's where growth happens. You start to notice what triggers you, what lights you up, what you've been avoiding, and most importantly, who you are when nobody's watching. Every new experience peels back a layer of the false self. It's not about becoming someone new. It's about remembering who you were before the world told you who to be. So if you feel stuck, numb, or disconnected, don't just overthink it. Change your environment. Try something that scares you. Even a small shift can wake up the parts of you that have been asleep for years, because when you finally break the routine, you don't just see the world differently. You see yourself differently. 3, question your narratives. Challenge your conditioning. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you interpret it, that matters." Let that sink in. Because the way you interpret life is shaped by the stories you tell yourself. And most of those stories, they weren't written by you. Your identity, what you believe about yourself, your worth, your limits, was shaped by early experiences, cultural expectations, and family beliefs. You were told, You're the quiet one. You're not good at that. That's not for people like us. Over time, these phrases become internal scripts, and without realizing it, you begin to live a life based on someone else's narrative. But here's the truth. You are not your past. You are not your upbringing. You are not your conditioning. You are the awareness behind the story. To reconnect with your true self, you must question your inner narrator. Is this belief mine, or was it given to me? Am I reacting based on truth, or on a fear I inherited? What if I'm not who I was told to be? This is not about blame. It's about responsibility, the ability to respond with new awareness. When you begin rewriting your story, you stop being a character and start becoming the author. So take a moment, examine the thoughts that run your life, because most people aren't trapped by reality. They're trapped by the meaning they've assigned to it. And the moment you change the meaning, you change everything. Seek critical feedback. Uncover your blind spots. There is a powerful psychological model called the Johari window. It teaches something simple but profound. There are parts of yourself you know, parts you hide, and parts that only others can see. That last part, those are your blind spots, the behaviors, patterns and contradictions you're too close to notice. And that's why honest feedback is a gift. Most people avoid it. It's uncomfortable. It challenges the ego. But if you're truly on a path of self-discovery, then you must be willing to hear the things you don't want to hear. Ask someone you trust, how do I come across when I'm under stress? Is there a part of me that seems inauthentic? What do I do that holds me back and I don't even realize? This isn't about judgment, it's about awareness. The truth is, you can meditate, journal, and reflect all day long. But sometimes, it takes an outside voice to reveal what's been hiding in plain sight. And yes, it might sting, but growth always does. When you invite critical feedback with humility, not defensiveness, you expand the window. You see what you couldn't see. You understand yourself more deeply, and you evolve faster than you ever could alone. So if you're serious about finding your true self, don't just look inward, listen outward. The truth isn't always comfortable, but it's the only thing that sets you free. Meditation or active solitude. Hear your inner voice. Lao Tzu, the ancient Taoist sage, taught that silence is a source of great strength. Centuries later, Descartes, father of modern Western philosophy, isolated himself for days to question everything and find the one truth he couldn't deny. I think, therefore I am. Different worlds, same principle. Silence reveals the self. But in today's world, silence is rare. We scroll, binge, multitask, distract, constantly filling the space where clarity is supposed to live. And without silence, the voice of your true self gets drowned out by noise. That's why you need more than quiet. You need active solitude, whether through meditation, deep breathing, mindful walks, or just sitting still without distraction. This practice reconnects you with the part of you that watches, listens, and simply is. In that space, something powerful happens. The mental clutter begins to clear. Your real desires start to surface. You stop reacting and start understanding. You begin to distinguish between the voice of fear and the voice of truth. And here's the secret. Your inner voice has always been speaking. You just haven't stopped long enough to hear it. This is not about escaping life. It's about returning to yourself without titles, pressure, or expectation. Even just 10 minutes a day can change your state of mind, because in solitude, you stop performing and start remembering. The world shouts, but the soul whispers. And if you want to know who you really are, you have to get quiet enough to listen. Accept the shadow. Integrate your denied parts. Carl Jung, the great depth psychologist, believed that the journey to the true self doesn't lead only to light. It leads directly through the darkness. He called it the shadow, the parts of ourselves we reject, deny, or are ashamed of, our anger, our envy, our fears, our hidden desires, everything we were told was bad or unacceptable. But here's the truth Jung discovered. The real you is not just the light, it's light and shadow together. And the more you deny your shadow, the more power it gains over you from the dark. Think about it. How much energy do you spend pretending, suppressing emotions, avoiding confrontation, trying to be good at the cost of being real? That's energy that could be used to create, heal, and grow. To accept the shadow is not to justify harmful behavior. It's to say, yes, this is part of me, but I choose to face it consciously. When you acknowledge your shadow, you stop projecting your issues onto others. You gain emotional freedom. You reclaim the power trapped in fear and shame. Jung said, one does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And that's the key to wholeness. You don't become your true self by cutting out what's wrong. You become your true self by integrating what's been ignored. So take a breath, look at the parts of yourself you hide, and meet them without judgment. Because once you stop fighting your shadow, you stop fighting yourself. And in that radical acceptance, you don't become perfect, you become whole. From reaction to authorship, true freedom begins the moment you stop living in reaction to the world around you and start living in authorship of the world within you. You're not here to play a role someone else wrote. You're here to write your own story, with awareness, with courage, with truth. And when you truly know yourself, something powerful happens. You stop being shaken by other people's opinions. You stop crumbling under pressure. You become resilient because you're no longer rooted in approval. You're rooted in clarity. And above all, you begin to find purpose. As Viktor Frankl once said, he who has a why to live can bear almost any how. When you connect with your deepest why, even pain becomes meaningful. You stop drifting. You start moving forward with direction. So here's your next step. Subscribe if you're ready to go deeper on this path. Like this video, if it sparked something real inside you, share it with someone who's ready to stop pretending and start remembering who they are, because knowing yourself isn't the end of the journey. It's where everything finally begins.